Hello, YouTube. Born to be Wild, N.E. here. And as always, N.E. stands for Nebraska. Go Big Red Ye Huskers. No snide comments down in the comments section now. For the first time in school history, 129 years of playing football, our program has started the season 0-6. And it so happens that yesterday's Sears filed bankruptcy. Oh. I'm an old fart, and I remember very clearly and very fondly of looking forward to the receipt of the annual Sears Christmas catalog, and the pages and pages and pages of toys and goodies for kids that were always in that catalog. Laying down on the floor with brothers on each side, we'd page through and circle the things we were interested in or make lists. It was just fun, fun, fun. We never got much, but that's okay. It was fun just looking forward. Another chapter in the changing of American society. Innovation and entrepreneurship tends to change societies. Technology and automation tends to change societies. Big money looking for new and better ways to make more money tends to change societies. Things like the automobile has had a huge change in American society. Some of it's good and some of it isn't so good. Depends on what perspective you're looking at. Looking out at it with. Maybe it depends on how you personally or your family have or have not been impacted by change. I've got some friends who used to work at a company here in Lincoln, and that company did computer administration of insurance policies, sold and marketed and owned in America. And over the last 5 years or so, somewhere between 400 and 500 jobs were moved from Lincoln to Asia. These aren't manufacturing jobs. These are clerical, administrative type jobs using a computer system to process transactions requested by the owners of the policies. With the world being hyper-connected digitally, really any work that can be digitized can be moved anywhere, almost anywhere in the world, many, many places in the world, and performed in other places. People tend to think of just manufacturing because that's where the trends of moving work out of country and of automating work really started. But it's been quite a number of years now that service work, administrative work, clerical work, call center work, started to move out of country and or be automated. So between 400 and 500 jobs that in Lincoln, Nebraska paid between $13 and $15 an hour and came with pretty darn good health insurance, decent other benefits, good 401k match, etc., etc. Went to an Asian country, and in that country, the workers are paid the U.S. dollar equivalent of $1.05 per hour. Now, that fluctuates a little bit, obviously, with currency exchange rates, and on top of $1.05 an hour, the cost of the types of health insurance they provide their employees in that country was peanuts relative to the cost of health insurance in the States. There's lots of smart and motivated people in other parts of the world. And the hyper-connected world opened up much of our country to competition globally, which opens up many individuals for competition from global employees, competition that we really weren't very ready for. I mean, how do you compete with $1.05 an hour and 6% labor benefit or benefit load on top of that already small labor cost? We're in the States talking $13 to $15 an hour and a 31% load on top of that higher labor rate. Companies can save a whole bunch of money. And quite a number of years ago now that Thomas Friedman wrote his book, The World is Flat. And I remember reading it, and he gave some examples, some early examples of work that had already been moved out of country. One that really struck home was the fact that tax returns for the United States taxpayer had been outsourced to U.S. tax law trained folks in India. And kind of what happened was accounting firms in the state would get the customer acquisition, remove all the personal identifying information, and ship the stuff over to India. They would complete the tax return based on U.S. tax law, ship the completed return back to the accounting firm in the United States. The accounting firm would reattach the personal identifying information, and voila, there you go. A perfectly fine U.S. tax return. Another example I remember that he used was X-rays, CAT scans, MRI scans processed in America, maybe late in America's day or even overnight. And those are pictures, right? They can be digitized. Digital anyway, most of them these days. And that digital file can be sent anywhere in the world. And technicians or doctors who are well-trained and well-skilled in reading those kinds of scans can do the scan, prepare their report, send that back to the state so the analysis and the report are ready for the doctors who come in the next morning to do their rounds and see what's going on with their patients. Once you've got your foot in the door for like overnight service, what's to keep it from evolving to serving the majority of scans? Regardless of day. I mean, the time to transmit data is really pretty minor these days. So stop thinking about it just in manufacturing, folks. Yes, the manufacturing sector has been hit really hard. No arguing that. What is America to do? Once one insurance company does it, they've achieved a lower cost structure, gaining competitive advantage against other insurance companies, and they can either enjoy higher profitability or marketing advantage via lower costs of their products, and that can put competitive pressures on other insurance companies to follow suit and try to gain and close the gap, of the competitive gap that they newly found themselves in. So in that case, these are all American policy owners. Would American policy owners be willing to pay some additional delta in price in order to support U.S. workers? Very similar to the concept of Buy USA, Buy Made in the USA. Big questions. When there's big questions like that, at least in our country, big money usually has a lot to say about what's going to happen, and a lot of influence over what might be considered instead of the status quo. Can't go straight. Which always leads to what I believe is the corrupting influence that big money has over our government, our systems of electing and of governing, passing laws, writing regulations. I keep asking myself, why that? And then why that? And then why that? And then why that? Trying to peel back the layers of the onion using the 5 whys technique, or trying to think of root cause. If we don't define the problem right, we have very little chance of solving it or influencing it in positive ways. And we can be fairly easily distracted from defining the problem right by PR communication programs underwritten by big money, etc. In my opinion, the December tax changes, which did give middle-class Americans some tax reduction, but is also well understood and generally understood to have given the already wealthy and big corporations, none of whom really needed tax reductions, the vast bulk of the savings of the tax reductions. Wonder why that happened and how that happened. You suppose big money had any influence in that outcome? Oh my. I mean, we all can make our own decisions about answering that question, but I think it's pretty interesting and something to think about and not just ignore. Why does many politicians and the president kind of mislead America so much about the impacts of those tax reductions? And they sold us on it, right? They said, oh, this will lead to growth. This will lead to more jobs. So far, the vast majority of the tax savings have gone to stock buybacks and things by big companies. Jobs normally are not created by for-profit businesses unless they need to create jobs in order to take advantage of a new market opportunity or support a new business decision of some sort. To a company, a job, and associated benefits, etc., associated to that job, to use associated twice, are expenses. If they're not going to help support additional revenue, they will simply hurt the profitability of the company. So many of us are so willing to believe what we're told. In an awful lot of cases, it's because what we're told is something we want to hear and we want to believe. So we're susceptible to believing it without really thinking it through, without educating ourselves about what's really true. Should I get off my soapbox? Enjoy the ride? Probably. Platte River to my right. Don't want to go off the road to that side. Looking at the bluffs on the other side, I don't want to go off the road to that side either. Best to stay on the road. Well, I've given you all some deep stuff to think about. Might be political, I don't know. To me, it's fundamental, foundational. You understand the fundamentals, you think critically, and then you can choose your personal politics accordingly to what you believe and what you understand. Not enough of we Americans do that, guys and gals. tribalism is the watchdog of the day. Conservative versus liberal. Right versus left. Republican versus Democrat versus green and libertarian. I would encourage all patriotic Americans to take a moment, think a little bit outside of whatever label you associate yourself with. Understand the fundamentals and foundational behavior of the way systems work. And then to not just accept messaging from politicians or big business or whatever special interest party may be messaging you, trying to convince you of something. And think about how that matches up with your understanding of the fundamentals and the foundations. Lots of times that can expose those messaging campaigns for what they are. Pure propaganda spin, intending to mislead so many Americans. Here I am going a little bit too fast as I think about this instead of my ride. I'm just going to sign off and enjoy the rest of this ride. Take care, all. What do we got here? 34? No. 50. And here we are, crossing the Platte. Yes, those are Nebraska's beaches out there, those sandbars in the middle of the Platte. While I exaggerate a little bit, there's a little bit of truth to the statement also. Whoa.